Imagine for a moment that fear is like a ripple on the surface of a vast ocean. A small disturbance in the water catches our attention, yet beneath it lies an immeasurable depth of calm. In many ways, our relationship with fear is much like our relationship with these ripples. We sometimes forget to see beyond the surface to the quiet, boundless potential that resides beneath. If we wish to move with the currents of life more freely, we must look deeper. Let us explore together how to let go of fear's tight grip and rediscover the expansiveness within, recognizing the essence of fear. Fear is often seen as an enemy, a looming presence that robs us of courage and clarity. But observe it closely, and you'll find fear is less a solid thing and more like a momentary wave in consciousness. When we take a step back, we notice fear arises as a response to uncertainty, to the unknown. It is not in itself a fatal flaw. It's a sensation, a tensing of the body, a fluttering of the mind. Once recognized, it becomes clear that we are free to experience this feeling without bowing to it. The wave doesn't cease to be a wave, but we can learn to ride it rather than be swept away. The trouble begins when we identify ourselves wholly with this feeling, when fear becomes the story of who we are, rather than a passing state. The mind, in its desire to shield us from any possible harm, will weave elaborate tales of danger and failure. But these are narratives, not absolutes. In acknowledging that these stories are not ultimate truths, we begin to sense the spaciousness that allows fear to arise and subside without dominating our choices. How fear restricts our boundless nature. When fear gains command over our actions, our life contracts. The infinite possibilities of this world narrow into a small corridor of safe options. Instead of exploring our vast potential, we often hide in what is known and familiar. Perhaps you have felt this contraction, where the wonder of your dreams and the call of new experiences get overshadowed by a whisper, "Better not. It's too risky." But life itself is a continual dance with the unknown. Growth, like a plant pushing through the soil, requires the seed to leave the security of its shell. If you avoid every challenge for fear of stumbling, you may never discover what lies just beyond your current horizon. And so, the challenge is not to erase fear, but to see it plainly, like a passing cloud. The sky remains vast even when clouds gather, tracing fear to its roots. If we look to our upbringing and cultural conditioning, we see how easily fear takes root. Sometimes it's handed down in well-meaning warnings. Don't dream too big, stay practical, or avoid unnecessary risks. Yet, in trying so ardently to avoid loss or pain, we often lose sight of the fullness that life can offer. The mind, prone to illusions, may label itself as being realistic when it is actually safeguarding old beliefs. By noticing these inherited limitations, we come to see that many of them are borrowed fears, ideas absorbed from the world around us, not necessarily reflective of our true nature. The invitation here is to look beyond these borrowed patterns and ask, what if I let my curiosity guide me instead of my fear? Shifting perspective. We sometimes imagine that the path of the fearless is utterly devoid of doubt or anxiety, but that is rarely so. Authentic courage arises precisely because fear exists. Rather than a sign of weakness, feeling fear can be seen as a signal that we're stretching into new territory. Picture a road leading to a distant mountain range. If you stand still, gazing at the peaks, you might shiver at their height. Yet the mountain's grandeur is also the source of its allure. Recognize fear, as part of the journey. Instead of saying, "I'm too scared," imagine whispering, "I'm growing. I'm on the threshold of something new." In this subtle yet powerful shift, fear becomes less of a blockade and more of an indication that you are on the cusp of expansion. The power of embodied action. Thought alone can spin us in circles, endless imaginings of worst-case scenarios. However, once you take a step, no matter how small, the spell of overthinking breaks. You've moved from dream to deed, from possibility to reality. A single action, sending an email, making a phone call, trying something new, can dissolve a mountain of worry. By taking these incremental steps, you also develop momentum. One moment of bravery feeds the next, and before you know it, you've gathered the courage to venture even further. It's like wading into the ocean. At first, the water feels cold against your feet, but each step adjusts your senses until you're swimming freely, forgetting the initial shock altogether. Actions awaken us from the trance of fear, revealing that many monsters in the mind are no more than passing shadows. Honoring failure as part of the process. We often dread failure because we treat it as a damning verdict on who we are. Yet failure might be more aptly viewed as information, a mirror reflecting where our methods or timing may need refining. In the same way a musician learns from missed notes, we learn from each misstep. When you fail, there's no need to label yourself. Simply notice what happened, glean the lesson, and adjust your approach. This perspective transforms failure from a harsh destiny into a gentle teacher. Life itself is a grand experiment, and sometimes the only way to learn is by embracing the results, whatever they may be, committing to lifelong growth. Fear can resurface even after we've overcome it once. The path to growth is not linear, but spiral. Each time we climb higher, we may circle back to a familiar challenge, yet with a different vantage point. This is why ongoing personal development, reading, contemplating, exchanging wisdom with others, is so crucial. When we immerse ourselves in continual learning, fear has less room to claim center stage. We become explorers, more intrigued by the joys of discovery than intimidated by what we don't know. In that spirit of curiosity, even setbacks become fascinating. Oh, here's another piece of the puzzle. Each new layer of understanding offers both humility and renewed confidence. The company we keep. Humans, much like flocks of birds, are influenced by those around us. If you reside in a chorus of naysayers and doomsday predictions, it becomes more challenging to spread your wings. Conversely, if you stand among friends and peers who see life as a canvas of possibility, you'll find the wind beneath your wings. Seek out people who respect your dreams. They may offer honest critique, but they do so from a place of encouragement rather than cynicism. Their presence alone can remind you of your inherent capacity to navigate the unknown. By choosing an environment that supports your evolution, you allow yourself to flourish rather than wither under the burdens of fear. The quiet force of belief. Belief in oneself is not arrogance, it is an internal recognition that life's current flows through you, brimming with potential. Fear attempts to chip away at this recognition, pointing out every perceived inadequacy. But if you recall past triumphs, moments you thought impossible until you actually did them, you realize the extent of your own resilience. Each victory, however small, is a testament to what you can accomplish when you move beyond hesitation. By collecting these inner assurances, you build a reservoir of belief that sustains you when doubt arises. And it will arise. Such is the nature of the human mind. But with a steady undercurrent of self-trust, you can face doubt with equanimity, envisioning a life of meaning. Fear often fades into the background when there's a grander vision at play. Reflect on what truly moves your heart. It could be creating art, tending a garden, contributing to your community, or forging a new path in your career. Let that vision stir you, filling your mind's eye with its colors and contours. When this vision becomes your focus, fear seems a smaller presence in the room. You might still sense it lurking, but it no longer dictates your actions. The vision becomes a guiding star showing you where to place your next step. It's much like sailing at night. The darkness is vast, but a single point of light can guide you forward. Transforming obstacles into energy. Obstacles appear whenever we venture beyond the confines of our comfort zone. These moments can awaken uncertainty, but what if we viewed them as fuel? Each challenge has the potential to light a fire within, urging us to become more adaptable, more creative, more alive. By greeting hardship with openness, here is a new puzzle to solve, we unshackle ourselves from the narrative that obstacles must be dreaded or avoided. In truth, they can spark leaps in understanding and creativity that a placid path might never provide. Notice, too, how each obstacle overcome reveals strengths you might not have seen otherwise. Persistence through the shifting tides. Life ebbs and flows like the tide. There will be moments when your energy is high and courage overflows. There will be others when your steps feel heavy and self-doubt surfaces. The art of living boldly is not about maintaining perpetual confidence. It's about continuing to move, even when the current is against you. Persistence is what gradually transforms the landscape of your mind. Day by day, you prove to yourself that fear's voice, while loud at times, is not the ultimate authority. You keep going, tending to your ambitions like a gardener, patiently waiting for the sprouts to appear, and appear they do, in their own perfect timing. Giving from an open heart. As you learn to diminish fear's hold, you'll find a growing desire to help others do the same. It might be through a simple conversation, a thoughtful gesture, or a project that uplifts those around you. When you place your energies into offering support, creativity, or kindness, fear naturally recedes. You shift your focus from what might go wrong to how can I serve. Curiously, sharing this journey also solidifies your own. In helping others see beyond their fears, you reinforce your understanding that life is indeed a dance of giving and receiving, of learning, stumbling, and rising again. A shared path of exploration can be far richer than one walked alone. Becoming who you already are. Often we hide aspects of ourselves because we think, if I show my true colors, I may be rejected, misunderstood, or ridiculed. Yet that which we conceal can become a source of tension, feeding the very fears we seek to escape. How liberating it is to live authentically, to realize that you are not obligated to uphold an illusion of perfection or normalcy. By unveiling your genuine self, even your so-called imperfections, you step into a unique freedom. The stage of life expands, and you dance upon it as you really are, not as who you think you should be. This unmasking disarms fear, because its favorite weapon is the dread of being discovered as inadequate. When you no longer cling to pretenses, fear has fewer places to hide. Stepping beyond fear's threshold. All these reflections remain abstract until we integrate them into our daily movements. Life beckons you forward, fear suggests you stay put. But there is a gentle power in your own hands, the choice to move anyway, to see fear as a wave and yourself as the ocean. Contemplate your next step. Perhaps it's a decision you've been postponing, a conversation you've been avoiding, or a project that lights a spark in your soul. Declare that fear will not be your master. Let it be a passing breeze rather than a permanent storm. Here is a simple truth. Fear need not define you. You were born into a world of possibilities meant to explore, create, and grow. The vision that intrigues you, the idea that keeps you awake at night, those are not random flickers. They are beckonings from the deeper currents of who you are. Lean into them, even if your heart races, especially if your heart races. That flutter might be life's pulse saying, yes, you're alive. Come dance on the edge of discovery. Let fear arise if it must, but do not mistake it for your destiny. You can see it, understand it, even feel it acutely, yet continue to move in harmony with the grand symphony of life. Rather than allowing fear to close every door, remember the timeless truth. You, as awareness itself, are boundless. The ripples will come and go, but the ocean remains vast and free. Embrace that immensity and step forth knowing that your fear, real as it seems, is only one wave in a sea of infinite possibility.